So for the 22nd lesson of class, we looked at ethical conundrums. And I'm certain at this point all of you can define ethics, but a lot of people don't know what a conundrum is. So a conundrum, according to the dictionary, is an intricate and difficult problem, or a question or problem having only a conjectural answer. So to break this down, these are really tough questions that are posed that do not have easy answers, or you could argue both sides, or you really can't choose one or the other. Very, very difficult questions to answer. Now in ethics, there are three conundrums I hope you learned today, and the first being the Acts and Omissions Doctrine. And this doctrine makes an ethical difference whether an agent actively intervenes to bring about a result, or omits to act in circumstances in which it is foreseen that as a result of the omission, the same result occurs. So in this hypothetical, we have a drowning person. Now this person is acting. They grabbed this long pole, they put it into the pool, and they're going to drag the drowning person in. Now these two people are watching the person drown, lamenting they forgot their camera. Now here's the question. Are these people ethically obliged to act? So here's the fundamental question. When is doing nothing really doing something? Okay, if you follow that. So if this person stood there and this person drowned and the authorities come and say, what happened? Well, I watched him drown. Why didn't you do anything? Wasn't my position to do that. I'm not a lifeguard. Is this person responsible for the death or not? Now, then you can look at some, circumstances, and you can change the variables. But when is it appropriate to act? When is it ethically okay not to act? Now, it's, again, a conundrum. That's a tough answer to that question. Now, the second conundrum is called the double effect. Now, the doctrine or principle of double effect is often invoked to explain the permissibility of an action that causes a serious harm, such as the death of a human being, as a side effect of promoting some good end. According to the principle of double effect, sometimes it is permissible to cause a harm or a side effect of bringing about a good result, even though it would not be permissible to cause such a harm as a means to bringing about the same good end. So that's the tough definition. You could look at it proverbially, hey, to make an omelet, you got to crack a few eggs. And you have to ask yourself, when is it okay to do something that causes a positive end, even though in the process you are doing something that normally would be perceived as negative? So this conundrum oftentimes has to do with the greater good. I chose the lesser of two evils is oftentimes how this one is phrased. So that's the second conundrum. And the third conundrum I hope you learned is the trolley problem. Now, the trolley problem is a thought experiment that was devised by Philippa Foot in 1967. And the general form of the problem is this. You see a runaway trolley moving toward 5 tied up or incapacitated people lying on the tracks. You are standing next to a lever that controls a switch. And, again, the variables are changed to gauge your philosophical and ethical compasses and illuminate your thought processes. So would you let nature take its course and hit the 5 people? That's just what happened. Or would you pull the lever to hit one person? Now, if you pull that lever, are you murdering this person or are you saving 5 people? And then I heard you talk today. These 5 people are 97 and this person is 15. Or these people are rotten, convicted, criminals, and this person is a Nobel Prize Peace recipient, and so on and so forth. So there's not an easy answer. Again, it's a conundrum. And how you answer this really illuminates who you are and how you think. And I posed 6 questions to you. And the first one's a general one, essentially gauging whether you understand the concepts. What are your overall impressions of these philosophical principles? What value do they possess? Why would we learn such a thing? What can we apply to the world using these principles? And that's more of a general question. But number 2, a little more nuts and bolts. How do these principles apply to medicine? So for instance, abortion, euthanasia, the Hippocratic Oath. Again, if you're in the medical profession, you take an oath to only heal and not do harm. However, let's say you are a NICU nurse and you know this child has a condition where it is impossible they survive. And you could do really heroic acts to save this child, but you might be causing this child to suffer. Might you turn a blind eye and let the child die naturally, or will you get involved with abortion? Hypothetically, the baby will kill the mother if they do not abort the baby. So either the baby will live or the mother will live. As a doctor, what do you do? As the patient, what do you do? In terms of euthanasia, should we let nature take its course or not? So obviously these have parallels into medicine. Also law. If you look at law, in law there's accessories to the crime. So for instance, if somebody says, I'm going to murder a bunch of people next week, I have the gun, I have the plan, and I say nothing. I don't act. Acts and omissions. I do nothing. And they go off and they murder those people. I'm an accessory before the fact. Or somebody comes up to me and says, hey, I murdered a bunch of people. Nobody knows about it, but I'm telling you. And I say nothing. And they find out. I'm an accessory after the fact. Is this ethical? Is this not ethical? At what point should we tell the authorities? What's the legal responsibility to assist others? At what point are we legally responsible to act? And at what point can we do nothing if we choose? Question 4. How do these principles apply to personal dealings? Should you reveal certain information, even if sworn to secrecy, if it creates a greater good? So we all have personal experiences. So for me as a teacher, I'll take you through how I saw it. As a teacher, I deal with acts and omissions all the time. So if a crying student is walking down the hallway, should I stop them and ask them what's going on and get involved, or should I let it go? Let's say if it's a student I haven't met yet compared to a student I've known for a long time, or it's highly out of character for somebody. Am I ethically obliged to stop the student and gauge how they're doing? How about a failing student? A student is failing the class, or they're failing many classes. Is it my responsibility to get on my prep hour, get them, contact them, try to help them, or should I just let them fail? At what point should I ethically intervene? What point should I not? Hallway behavior. If I were to ding all the buffoonery I saw in the hallway, I think it would be a long day for a lot of people. So at what point do I let certain things slide? So after school, a bunch of people are cursing. You're not supposed to curse at school. Do I get involved or do I walk away? When do you get involved, when do you not? Now, in terms of double effect, if I kick a student out, I'm depriving that individual of their education. Not a good thing. But if that student is so disruptive that he or she is taking away from the other 29 students, is that a greater good even though I'm doing bad? A fight breaks out in the hallway, very violent fight, and I go down the hall and I tackle a student, in particular if it's a very serious, they have a weapon, and I have to go do violence to a student. Obviously that's the wrong thing to do, but according to the double effect, was that the right thing to do? And I think I'm on even playing field with you in terms of the trolley problem. If I say, well, it's the greatest good, to save the most lives is the best thing to do. You're a utilitarian. If you only look at the consequence of it, to say, hey, whatever the end result that's best, you're a consequentialist. You might be a fatalist and say, hey, nothing I can do, it's all whatever. Or if you believe in predestination, hey, it was meant to be, and why am I going to get involved? Some people are very logic and pragmatic. What's the most logical approach? Or some people are even the categorical imperative to say, it is not right to pull that lever, for I am harming somebody. It's not right to do that. So it flushes out how you see things. So that's number 4. And number 5, what other applications of these principles did you and your group come up with? And again, I was looking for you to apply this to other facets of life, and I really think they're all over the place. I don't think you have to work too hard to figure those out. And then your personal assertions, and I'm just asking you to give your 2 cents. So these 3 conundrums, the trolley problem, the double effect, and acts and omissions are tough questions that apply to a lot of areas of life. And it was very interesting for me to listen to you and have a discussion with you, and I hope you learned something. So thank you for watching.